We might as well at least get started and get through a couple things while we're waiting for Kate and Tanya to join us. So I'll call the meeting to order. And there she is. Hey, Kate.
Hi.
Yeah. All right. So does anyone want to say anything about last month's minutes?
Move to approve last month's minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Third.
All right. All in favor of approving last month's minutes? All right. Motion has passed. Thank you. Announcements. So our next meeting is April 27th. That's back to our regular time and date. I was going to ask, does anyone have a preference for Thursdays over Wednesdays, or are we all good with Wednesdays?
Wednesday.
Okay. We will keep that for consistency. All right. Do we have other announcements? Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, I just wanted to update people. We actually, the CCOC, together with the City of Ashland Conservation Department, will be represented at the Temple Emek Shalom April 24th Earth Day event, which is a big event. There's going to be, I think, electric cars and all kinds of different stuff. And we're going to share a table with Larry Giardina of the solar part of the electrical conservation and solar. And I've already, and we've got a good crew, James and Kate Kennedy, and also Kate Jackson from another group, former, I think, city councilor, volunteered to help with the table. So we've got a lot of help. I've already been working with Julie Smitherman. She's gathering up materials. I mean, what's interesting is Julie showed a picture of the city's conservation department doing this in a previous year. Mm-hmm. And they have all this stuff and they have the canopy and everything. And so we're just really stepping into their shoes to do it because the city doesn't have anyone to do the water and solid waste and all that side of it.
Yeah, I think there's a bigger discussion here and I'd like to move it to the business section.
Sure.
Because this seems important and I know a lot of us are part of this effort. And there was a subgroup that either was already met or is going to meet about that. So I'd like to move it into the business. And does that sound good to you, Larry?
Yeah, that sounds just fine. Yeah, I thought you had sent an email saying we were going to, instead of doing subgroup reports, that we just use this, but it makes sense.
Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. That was just me miscommunicating. That we were going to go individually, but during the business part. So different than our regular announcement.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got
No, but this is great because I think we're all pretty excited about Earth Day. So thank you. Okay. Do we have more announcements? Risa?
I have two, and one is, the first one is about a person named Russ Audie that many of you, I think, knew. He was a music teacher at Ashland High School for many years, and he died earlier this month. But the thing that I wanted to bring to you all, you're saying, well, why are you bringing this up? Well, Russ Audie was a part of the very first cadre, or whatever you would call us, back in 1997, the first Conservation Commission. Russ Audie was one of the people at the new table called the Conservation Commission. And I don't know that many people know about that part of Russ Audie's life, but he was Ashland School District's first representative. Right. And I think he was followed by Jim Hartman, who held that seat for many years. But I just wanted to acknowledge him in this group and just add a little piece of history that you might not have known.
Yeah. Thank
he
you.
wasn't just a, music man. He also cared about the environment, and he was a very kind person. So anyway, that's the first announcement. The second announcement is that I sent my letter of resignation for this commission to the mayor earlier this month. My time is up April 2022. And so I let the mayor know that I wasn't whatever it's called, for the 47th time. I thought it's time for me to step back, and I think we have a good group of people, and it's not like I'm dead yet. And so, so I didn't get a response from the mayor. I did hear from Tanya and Marnie. So I'm hoping that that's official enough. I had asked her for guidance around getting, someone new, but I didn't hear from her. So
Yeah.
I'm letting you all know. And I also got a couple links from Mary McClary that she might want to share with everyone, since we now have 2 empty seats, and it's just a link to the city website and a link to the application for new potential commissioners.
So this is very sad to me. You're like the longest standing member of anybody I've ever known on any commission.
I was going to ask are you the longest commissioner of any commission?
No. I think that the chances are I think it's very possible. I would imagine a person like Adam Hanks might have that knowledge, but yeah, because I don't really know. I don't know.
There's one person I could think of who maybe could match your longevity there. It's Terry Skibby on the Historic Commission.
Oh.
Because
That's because he's preserved.
What?
That's because he's preserved.
Yes, he's very preserved.
No,
Well,
really, Risa, it's really hard to hear that, because you were my guru at the beginning. You still are, but like you were at the beginning too.
Yeah, you're a very important part of this whole endeavor and history and all of the things that have been accomplished in the past. So you've left a big mark.
And going forward, you can just do it from different angles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I expect, Risa, that you will continue to share your great ideas and spirit around conservation with us, and probably more easily and freely, because you won't feel like you're committing to something from the commission. You can do it as your genuine self always, which I think you always do, but I look forward to you being in touch.
Absolutely. And I'm hopefully going to write more than one, but for sure one article for Ashland.News about water conservation coming up. I've just been stewing about it. So now I have no excuse.
So Risa, we would like to gather and celebrate you and this big change for you and for all of us, and appreciate you. So I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but I'm just letting you know that there are plans to do that.
Well, that's super sweet.
It could be our first in-person gathering in a really long time. So
that'd be great.
Okay.
I'm curious, Risa, first of all, super bummed that I don't get to hear Risa's jokes anymore. Risa jokes are the best. And I'm wondering is there anything in particular next for you, or is this just more of a taking something off your plate?
It's partly trying to get stuff off my plate, because I really do have too much on my plate. As it is, Rogue to Go is a wonderful, and it takes a lot, and I'll be able to pull more weeds, and yeah, I just really feel like, I have been a part of this group for decades. I left maybe 5 years in there back in the late 1900s. I don't know, like 2000. Anyway, it was a while ago. And it just feels like it's time. And I want to honor that. I want to honor that. And it is bittersweet. It truly is. And it feels right. So to answer your question, I'm not really sure. But I'm not looking for something else. I'm really trying not to look for anything else, but just to create more space.
Lisa, I want to say thank you, because you've been a key person welcoming me onto this committee, and it's been great working with you on this committee. So thank you. I'm going to miss you here, but I get to see you on a very, very regular basis running Rogue to Go and our nonprofit Be the Change Rogue. So in a way, I'm happy I get to carry on working very closely with you.
Well, most of you know where I live, so. Yeah. It's not goodbye. It's just, different. It's
Change is good for us. Change is very good. We forget that.
I mean, don't think for a minute that for the next consecutive, whatever it is, third or fourth Wednesdays, I mean, I already have it. It's already written in my book, but I'll be in spirit, and who knows, I might have to be whatever it is when you show up. And
public forum. Are you going to show up in public forum?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. It's who knows.
We'll put a special slot for you every month, just in case Risa wants to check in. Okay. Well, thank you, Risa, for everything, and it is bittersweet.
Risa, this is just for you.
I was gonna wear my T-shirt.
Oh, the background.
I know,
yeah.
but I have that T-shirt. Actually, I have 2 of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
I thank all of you for what you've done and what you're gonna do.
Okay. Well, let's keep moving. And thank you. And do we have any reports from members of other commissions? Okay.
If we're going to talk about the sneak preview, I'll do it then. Otherwise,
Okay.
I do a little bit of, but
Okay.
wherever you want to put it.
Yeah, let's do it then.
Yeah.
And then public forum. Do we have any public forum this time? No. Okay. We have reports and presentations, 5 minutes each for council update, SOU update, and Recology update. So let's start with council.
I am trying to think of, we've had pretty light, we've continued to have some pretty light meetings recently, and we know that things are going to heat up here very soon. But it's been pretty quiet in terms of the issues that have come in front of us. most recently. We did, though, sign the contract to buy the electric substation. I think it's a substation. Is that right, Mary? Did I get that right? The big place that Tom's been trying to buy for 5 years or so. So that will help us. It's the infrastructure that we need to be able to really start to kind of take our own electrical future in hand. So it's a really good investment for the city. It's been, like I say, in the works for quite some time, but the council did finalize and approve the contract for the purchase of it. So that, from my conversations with Tom, you know, that's one of the key pieces for us to be able to really decide, you know, kind of how and when we bring electricity from renewable sources into our system. That'll give us a lot more flexibility. So that was good news. And
It looked like Risa had a question around that.
Yeah. For those of us that aren't dialed in with what you're talking about, could you backtrack a little and just, because this is new information to me, can you explain who it is that's currently in charge of our substation? It's the electricity that we buy from Bonneville?
Yes, but Bonneville owns that particular facility inside our system. And so it's an important part of being able to contain costs and also to be able to kind of, you know, have full run of how that particular infrastructure works. So when we've been looking at, you know, Ashland's long-term goals around electrification and that sort of thing, this purchase is a key part of being able to actually do it. And so Tom's been working on it for a while to get all the pieces in play, to make Bonneville an offer that they were interested in accepting, all of that.
So it eliminates tier 1, tier 2 stuff that we like jockey with.
I don't think it does that. No, but it's capacity. It means it will control the infrastructure, that piece of infrastructure in our system that we didn't control before.
It also
Go ahead, Mary.
It also eliminates transmission costs. We pay
Yes.
hefty transmission costs every month to have the electricity come to us. So since we are going to own it, we won't have to pay that. So we're looking at about a 5-year payback for the purchase, which is
Yes.
great. And we, like she said, we can expand it whenever we want to include an expansion of the electrical grid. So there's a lot of benefits to that. And they have been working on this for about 5 to 7 years. Lee Thunberg started it a long time ago. So they just struck the deal and council approved it. So it'll take about a year for it to go into place and then it'll be ours.
Yeah, it's the transmission costs that we're going to be affected by this. And yeah, that payback period is a really important part of it. And so there's a lot of good reasons why we're glad that this is happening, because it also, those transmission costs can be volatile as well. So this gives us a lot more control over what our electricity costs and takes some of the volatility out of it.
Great. Did anything come out of the general plan survey input that we provided last time, or where is that process?
We haven't seen the questions yet.
Okay.
So I did follow up with a set of questions that I requested that they ask in addition to the bundles that the SAU's putting together around things like climate, affordability, reducing wildfire risk, equity, diversity and inclusion, and homeless services, to see what does the community want to fund, through the city, if anything. Because people are always asking us to do more, but a lot of our funding streams are restricted, and we don't have actually a big pot of unrestricted money to work with, because that pays for police and fire and planning and all sorts of things. And so that I put that request in as a counselor, and then I know several of the commissions that deal with those issues also put in requests that they would like to get some feedback from the community about what it would like to see invested in. We should be getting the questions, I think, at the upcoming meeting next week. I'm hoping to see them in this packet so that we can stay on the schedule that we've set.
Okay. So if we want to see the questions themselves, we can look at the next council packet.
I think so. That's when they're expected. So as long as that project has stayed on track in terms of timing, it should be in this packet. It should be out. It'll be out by tomorrow. The packet for this upcoming Tuesday.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anything else?
No, just that I need to leave today at 3:50 for a city council tour that I have to go on. So I will stay as long as I can.
Okay, thank you. Bex, SOU update.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tonya, for that. I noticed, I know Rick Barth gave a presentation for the CPC to study session. And they made some recommendations, which we don't need to go over here, but there's a lot there that they presented, a lot of material. And I'm wondering what the next step is with the city council in regards to that. And then if you could maybe help us determine what we can do to help support what they're presenting, because we're more the educational component of things. They're presenting like ideas for policy, but for us, it might be that we reach out to the community based on the policy recommendations. I don't know, to be able to get the word out that this is there, that then the community can then have an opportunity to step forward and say, oh, we're interested in making sure that, we put our energy into letting city council know that we're supporting this.
So the Climate Policy Commission came forward with at a study session and it kind of gave the council an update on some of the priorities that the mayor had requested that the commission kind of look through. So that Rick had met with the mayor and they kind of talked through some of the main issues that the commission was working on. And we spent a lot of time talking about a recommendation from the Climate Policy Commission that the city, through an ordinance rather than an administrative action, which is where it is right now, but through an ordinance, require that we not replace any fossil fuel based appliances with natural gas. Again, I think they're primarily natural gas is what we're looking at, but that when they reach the end of their life cycles, that they are not replaced with natural gas. And in order to do that, as many of you know, if you're changing out a water heater that's gas and you need to move it to electric, you need to plan that ahead of time. It's not something that you can do when it finally, breathes its last moment and dies on you, because then you have an emergency and it's very difficult to make that transition work. And so they talked to the city about that. The staff is going to be looking at what kind of planning that would require. But really, the commission is calling on the city to do that leadership in taking itself completely off of any sort of fossil gas appliances. And so I think they're to come back to us within a certain number of months, 3 to 6 months, I think, with what that can look like and potentially what an ordinance would look like, so that if anything, it does need to be replaced with natural gas, again, that it comes back to the council level. So it becomes not a staff level decision if there's a reason to replace a natural gas appliance with natural gas. So there's a couple of things that they're asking for there. And there was some discussion, and Rick used some of that time to explain the background of the fossil gas problem and what why it's important that the city lead on this, and kind of the general direction the world is going in terms of that particular energy source, and got that conversation going. And we had, I think, a pretty good conversation around that, and it was helpful for the council to hear that information directly from Rick. But that's, that I recall that's the main, they came with a couple of recommendations and the council agreed with them and has, put staff to work on it. Yeah,
so this is all municipal oriented, right? And it's not.
Yeah, this is just the municipal infrastructure. So this is not a conversation yet about fossil gas hookups. in new construction or any sort of required phasing out of existing appliances in the city. This is the first step of the city taking full responsibility for its infrastructure.
Right. Okay. So the original question isn't so much about community as much as it is about municipal. Is there anything that the Conservation and Climate Outreach Commission can do? You don't have to answer this right now, but think about how that we might play a role in supporting whatever the city's being asked for or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what we can do.
Yeah, I think we're waiting for the staff to do some of their work and come back to the council
Okay.
with what they think it can look like, and what that timing would look like. You know, how fast might we get off of these things? For some of them, it might actually involve switching them out before the end of their useful lives, depending on the timing and what exactly they are. So I think when it's coming back to us is when that conversation is going to come back up again. It might be useful for the CCOC to engage on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, James, because we have, I mean, some of the best work we've done has been when council brings something to us and says, you know, this is what we want you to do, and we jump right in and get it done. And so I know we work well that way. So if there is something where we can help with research or outreach and education, that is what we're here for. Okay, so let's move to Bex, and then we did talk about having the Recology and SRU updates every other month. I don't know if we want to start doing that now, or I'll let Jamie decide if you want to do one today or if you want to wait until next month. And we'll figure out that schedule for future meetings. But why don't you go ahead, Bex?
Okay, thanks, Manny. So last time, so we're just back for spring term. Winter term, largely looking at our 3-yearly sustainability reporting I was working on, which is called STARS through the American Association for Advancing Higher Education, Sustainability in Higher Education. And it covers planning and administration, engagement, operations, innovation, as well as academic and curriculum. So the credits are huge here across all those different areas. So last term was working with staff, faculty, and I had a PEAK student working with me where we start on all the reporting across how we operate on the campus. Then in terms of our workforce, our well-being within planning, on the planning administration side and the engagement side, and then also engagement with students, community. And so that's coming to an end. We've nearly finished the reporting, and then that goes to the national body for review, and we work with them in terms of finalizing it. So that was a huge piece of work, but it's really engaging because it's a very prescriptive process, but at the same time transparent, and you can see where there are gaps and where you can improve in terms of your sustainability. And you can also use it to raise awareness about how sustainability is part and parcel of everything in terms of the community, the environment, as well as the economic side of things. So in terms of reporting process, I'm a big fan of this one, and it's been a great process to go through, but that's been a huge focus on sustainability at SOU. We've just kicked off a feasibility study looking at the next buildings that we would like to put solar on at SOU. And so this, we're working with True South, just looking at the structure, the electrical, and then as well as the efficiency in terms of the roof space and the direction of the roof and the shading. And so that's a feasibility study that's being led by students working with me, and then working with True South. They were the successful bidder in taking this project. Partnership project moving forward with City of Ashland and Fourth Mobility. So I've been working with Stu Green to host the electric vehicle car share for the community at SOU. So we've worked through the contract, and we're currently finalizing next steps in that in terms of actually bringing the infrastructure in. We've recertified in the last couple of weeks for our B campus, and we got Tree campus at the beginning of winter term. And then also a few surveys have gone out, just looking at areas in terms of outreach across the campus, and also, as you know, presented to you in terms of the partnership project we did with SOCAN on the community survey, and presented to you as well as the Climate Policy Commission on this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jamie, what do you think? Would you like to update us this time or next time or both?
I have just 3 very timely event
Okay,
notifications, and I can just cut it to that if that helps.
okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
The annual household hazardous waste event is being held on Saturday, May 7th. So that's an opportunity to get rid of your pesticides and things that are sitting in your garage and things like that. It's free. So
What was
that's
that
it.
date again, please?
Saturday, May 7th, it's at Rogue Transfer Station in Medford. I
Okay.
believe from 8 to 4:30, I believe. Don't quote me. There's information on our website about it.
Okay.
The other, does anyone have any questions about?
Yeah, I have a question. Will that include any kind of electronics or fluorescent tubes, batteries, anything like that?
No, but you can take up to 7 electronics per day to Valley View Transfer
Right.
Station for free. They also do fluorescent tube recycling there for a charge. I don't know off the top of my head what it is. And what was the other thing that you asked?
Batteries.
Batteries, you can take household batteries there, so they are accepting those as well. If you have an old thermometer, what are other things people? Yeah, I think that's no paint.
No paint.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Don't bring your paint. Oregon has a program called Paint Care, and you can
Right.
take it back to the paint store for free.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and that works. You pay for it when you buy paint.
Yeah, just like when you buy a soda, you pay a deposit, same concept.
okay.
So the very next day at Valley View Transfer Station, we're having the annual green debris free drop-off day. So that's an opportunity to get rid of your fuel, green debris fuel around your house. So that's going on. And
You said
then
that was on Sunday?
that's on Sunday when the transfer station is closed.
Okay.
It's open for this event only.
Okay.
That's the next day on Sunday, the 8th. And then what's the last? Oh, I just wanted to announce that the Master Recycler training program that's Jackson County Master Recycler training program has been announced, and they're gonna reinstate that effective fall of this year. Tentatively September 27th is the first date, and it's not just about recycling, it's about water, and it's waste, it's water, it's waste prevention, and it's a great way to learn about our local infrastructure and everything waste prevention in our area.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we have our business. There was a memo from Tom McBartlett in the packet, which I read, and now I'm completely blanking on what was in it. So sorry about that. Maybe someone else read it, can spark my memory.
I couldn't find the packet, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a problem.
I mean, it just has the agenda, but not the packet for some reason.
Was it
Oh,
about
well,
solar
here, it's on the
incentives?
agenda.
Solar incentives, is that what it was?
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yes, it was about solar incentives.
25 cents. It's going from whatever to 25 cents per kilowatt or whatever.
Okay.
Something that's, my brain doesn't really, anyway, I think that was my takeaway.
Is that what is mimicking the retail rate? Because that's what we're being paid for solar, right? Maybe nobody knows that answer, but anyway.
That's correct. You're getting the retail rate. And also I think it's the state, it's $5,000 a system that gets put in, and that's also the state, what the state recommends that we do. So we're still doing that too. So anytime you put in a system, trying to find the memo. Let me see.
The memo, it's going from 50 cents to 25 cents and from 7,500 to 5,000. So they're reducing the incentives for solar.
Okay, thank you.
There it is, yeah. Sure.
Okay. And yeah, so I mean, I received that memo, but I don't know any background about why that happened now.
It's been discussions ongoing with the solar companies and other stakeholders in Ashland for a while around the incentives. And I think, and Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of the budget, it's reallocating it into other areas to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, such as switching off natural gas, while maintaining some incentive here.
Okay, great. Yeah, did anyone have anything else that they wanted to talk about around that? I just thought it was good for all of us to know. And okay, so I thought that we would go through, we don't really have, our subgroups functioning at this time, so it just made more sense for us to go through individually and give updates on our progress for the month, and then we can kind of go from there to figure out what we want to be working on in coming months. And this would be a great time to also talk about the Earth Day events that are happening and what roles each of us are able to take with those. So let's see. So if we want to talk about updates on progress, on our time commitments, and then I just put down that this is optional for the reps, just depending on whether or not you have additional things to update outside of your regular updates that you already gave us. So if we want to start maybe with Risa. Or not.
I haven't really given it a lot of thought because I was kind of stepping off the page.
Okay, well, that's
Not
fine.
off the planet, but just off the page of commitment to the commission. I mean, I feel like, my arm could be twisted to just help the tiniest bit with the story gathering.
Yeah, no, and this is like for the last month, if we have updates on what we've been working on.
Oh,
I'm not talking about the future for you. I'm not giving you assignments.
I'll go next.
Okay, great, Bex.
Okay, so I've given largely an update around SOU, but what I'm challenging myself is to align that with how it supports in the community. So the community survey was a huge project. And so next, in terms of, we're doing a lot of work around our outreach on campus. So what I'll look for is, in terms of raising awareness about the incentive programs and what's happening in the city of Ashland, bringing that into the campus community with outreach and articles that I'll focus on SOU community in terms of raising awareness around that, because that's quite a wide audience in Ashland. So that's where I'm at the moment and thinking about for spring term.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have something they want to update? Anya.
Yeah, I got 6 more little interviews for the story project from a ton of teenagers. So
wow.
Yeah, so we got some good youth voice represented there.
That's excellent.
That is excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Are those written and verbal or one or the other?
They're all verbal right now. I can transcribe them if we want them all written.
Okay. Yeah, we can meet with our group and see kind of how we want to present them. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right. Larry, I know you talked a bit about Earth Day, but did you want to follow up with that and we can kind of get more organized on that effort?
Yeah, well, what I'd like, could I first just sort of update on water stuff? I mean,
Yes,
it's sort of a group of one, but not really, because now there's these other people helping with, the effort on Earth Day. But just to update that, I did meet with Scott Fleury, and I wanted to be sure and share I think the key thing there, I was asking him what his expectation was for Ashland's water supply. And in spite of the fact that we're in an official drought for Jackson County, Scott did say he's expecting we'll be okay for Ashland, that our main water supply, well, both our water supplies, both the tap and the Ashland Creek, are expected to meet our needs. And the reason I asked him about that was there's an ongoing disconnect communication wise in the community. And this I'll move right into April 24th with, is that in general, people in the community are aware that we're in drought and that it's important to conserve water. But at the same time, the city of Ashland has had a very low profile around water conservation up to this point in the year. And so I did ask Scott about, what I said, I'm presuming the reason is that Ashland doesn't have conservation staff focused on water except for a fractional piece of Julie Smitherman's time. And he said, yes, that's the case. And also the case that the the Public Works Department is shorthanded because of attrition of engineers and workers, and they're kind of focused on doing their projects, but there really isn't, there's somebody who takes phone calls related to water conservation, but there's nobody doing outreach or really available much. So that led me to Julie Smitherman, and she said she's really expecting to be ramping up availability for of residents of the city of Ashland to get water audits so that they can do something about saving water and also qualify for city incentives. And that's exactly what we'll be presenting at the Temple Emek Shalom event for Earth Day. There'll be a City of Ashland table. And I shared with Scott, I said, there's like the Conservation Commission and other citizens in Ashland that want to help the city with their outreach. And he was very enthusiastic about that. And in fact, I asked him specifically, I said, we need material, we need printed materials and this, that, and the other. And since my meeting with him, he gathered up some things, and he also interacted with Julie Smitherman around that. And I think they're actually meeting right now, or they were meeting today, and addressing some of those things. But Julie made the commitment to supply the CCOC effort at Earth Day with all the materials that she normally would have, like if she were still working for Ashland, primarily, she would be doing this. And she shared a photograph with me that was very cute about showing all the different water conservation swag and everything at a table with a canopy. And so we'll be doing that. And I think that's a really positive thing that the CCOC is at least holding forth for the city conservation department. And Larry Giardina is also going to be there. So he still works for the city, and he will be bringing the accoutrements, the canopy and stuff, is my understanding. And I think I'm hoping James was going to be interacting with him. And so far, in terms of I think it's the hours are 1 to 4 p.m. And I've got James made an early commitment to help out, and he's going to help be able to set up. And Kate Kennedy contacted me and is going to be part of the team for the table. And also, I'm on an informal water discussion group that includes Kate Jackson. And I mentioned the CCOC effort for Earth Day at a meeting of that, and she offered to help out as well. So we have a good crew, so we don't all have to be at the table, that people will be able to trade off and not have to do a full 3-hour shift. And I'm just excited. I think we're going to reach several hundred people likely at that event. James, did you want to?
Well, I just wanted to say that I don't know if you knew this, but I did contact Dan through email. I didn't know that Larry still worked for the city, but I can CC him as well.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, Dan Cunningham, right?
I contacted Dan, but I didn't know Larry still worked for the city, so I'll contact him as well. Right? I mean, you wanted me to do both.
Yeah, that's what I understand. He's maybe reduced his work.
I thought he retired, but I guess not. Okay.
Part-time. He's half-time right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's okay. Good. Thank you.
And also, just as we're thinking about it, it would be great to have, I've asked Dan to bring any material that they have possible, but he doesn't work on the bicycle and car incentive stuff. I did ask him though, who to contact about that. Maybe Mary could be helpful here too, for us to get material that could be pulled together about all the conservation components, energy saving, whatever we're trying to do, as well as what you talked about, Jamie, which was the hazardous waste drop off, because it'll be prior to that, as well as the green debris one. And by the way, Jamie, the green debris one is not on the website that I can see, just so you know, on the Recology website.
It's under current events or something like that.
Latest news and events has hazardous waste, but it doesn't have anything about green debris. So just so you know.
Weird. I thought I even saw it myself. So
Okay, maybe I
Thank
missed
you
it.
for letting me know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, my understanding was that Larry Giardina was going to sort of be representing the solar and electrical incentives somehow. And I haven't had a chance to meet with him yet, but I'm sure I'll be doing that. One thing that I think, like Stu really had his hands on all that stuff. And I'm hoping, I know because I contacted Julie, she actually she was going into her Ashland office and she's gathering, she said, I have all this stuff in drawers and stuff. So this is kind of where we're at in the city right now because things are so short-staffed. But she is, putting in the effort and focus to get those materials out and to me. And I think that maybe either through Stu or through Larry or through Dan, we can get at the bike incentive stuff and anything else. The other thing that's great that Julie is doing is trying to make sure that there are QR code links to the various incentive pages and the right water use and all of that, so that when people come to the table, instead of giving them paper, we'll have a poster or something that will have QR codes next to all the various city programs. And if someone says, well, I want to know about, bike incentives or whatever, we can just point right to the QR code and say, just grab that right now and you'll have the information.
Great. I know there's a lot of folks willing to help, and is there going to be like a smaller meeting where we can hash out some of the?
There will be, it's kind of hard. I think that, we probably should meet in person.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That'd be great.
And that's fine. I'm happy to coordinate a meeting.
Okay.
So far, Kate and James are involved, and Kate Jackson. Is there anybody else in the meeting right now who wants to get the contact for a meeting, or maybe I'll send out a doodle poll?
I would like to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
I'd be happy to be at the table for a little while too.
Oh, great.
Okay, well, maybe I'll do a doodle poll probably the beginning of next week, because I want to wait till I have more information on the materials that we have and whether we need help transporting stuff over there.
Okay, and I saw. Oh, go ahead, Kate. And then
I just wanted to say, Larry, you've been talking about the Temple Lamech Shalom event, which is on Sunday, the 24th.
Right.
But what about the co-op event on the 22nd?
Yeah, I can speak to that too. I'm on the co-op board, so I know about the co-op event. The co-op event has been organized from the beginning as primarily outreach to children. And the tables and things there are going to be very much oriented to kids. If someone has an idea of how CCOC could do an outreach to kids, that would be fine. I just felt like, I didn't have a focus in that direction. I did actually recruit the pollinator project for that event. And they're going to be there, and they're going to have like seed packets and things for kids to plant pollinator plants and learn about them. So the contact there is Malia. If people know, she's part of the promotional education outreach part of the co-op. And I can help facilitate that too. If somebody has some idea there, I mean, it's just kind of hard. We don't really have that I know of a prepackaged thing that would meet that need specifically for child outreach. But it would be wonderful to do something.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, James.
I just wanted to ask Mary a question. There used to be a contacts list on the City of Ashland's website where I could type in a name and it would actually come up with the email address or phone number for that person. I don't have it anymore. It's gone. And so I'm wondering if you could send me the email address for Larry so that I can make sure that I have the right.
Oh, Larry
spelling.
Giardina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay, if you can forward it to me, because I don't have it in my list, so I just want to get that.
Risa, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, it's connected to events. It just, James made me think of it. And that is the background behind James is an actual banner. And it says Sustainable Ashland, where green becomes mainstream. And there's a whole story behind it, but hopefully someone will remember it. My question is, where is that banner today? That's my question, because, we bought it, we paid for it. It is a tool for the commission to use whenever it would like to. And I don't know where it ended up, because, we had it made for 4th of July several years ago, but maybe Jamie has a memory.
Well, I just know that whenever we're planning for Earth Day and we had that Earth Day banner, there's an area behind the Grove, the police station, and they had it, and I'm not even sure what department that is.
So that's the electric department. That's where I live over there, and we have all the banners that people leave upstairs. So I will have them look for your banner and see if it's up there.
Okay, because once upon a time, it used to be stored, it would be in ComDev, in the community development building, and we would go over there to get it, but that doesn't mean that that's where it was stored, but maybe it was retrieved and that was the pickup spot. But I don't want y'all to lose track of that tool.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
so
just one comment on that. Now I've heard of 3 different places where there are materials related to conservation. And we, as a conservation commission, don't have direct access to any of them. So it might be a good idea for us to kind of maybe get together a list of what is where. Once, I think after Earth Day, we'll have an idea of kind of where some of the more of the stuff is, to be sure that, because even when I talked to Public Works, they weren't really sure where things were, and there were documents on servers that had been moved and couldn't be readily found. And so I think maybe there's a little archival job to be done here to gather these things up.
Well, when we did events, the conservation department that used to be made up of water and electric mostly, and those 2 departments lived in the community development building. And when we would do events, we always teamed up with, one of 3 staff people. And so they would bring those folding things and, they had all the apparatus. So I think the Comm Dev building could also, and Larry or Dan might rattle their brain, and Julie too.
Yeah, I think they know where the stuff is, but there's not actually someone there right now to to bring anything or to, there's nobody home. And everybody kind of knows that. And as time goes by, positions will be filled and there'll be the staff that focuses on conservation will be back. But in the meantime, we're kind of filling some of the gap, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah. Just when we kind of passed by it, but the co-op event targeted towards children, does anyone have an interest in developing something that we could do there? It just seems like kids are such a perfect audience. It's just the right age to make a difference. Jamie?
If it helps anyone to know, I'm going to be there. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's someone wants to.
Yeah, I think too, if you contact Malia, she, is happy to have volunteers in general there because the whole event is going to be focused on, environment conservation and kids. She might already have something in mind. Like, I haven't really seen detailed stuff about it. There's a short list of participants, but it's pretty short right now.
But we built, I don't know if anybody else remembers this, but we built, it was when Earth Day was over at the Science Works. Yeah. And we built these, I think I might have done it, or somebody built these boards that had little windows. And it was a conservation question about saving water, what kind of trees to plant, that kind of thing. And the kids would open a window for the answer. So that might be somewhere in the archives too, still, for whatever it's worth.
All right. So it sounds like we'll look for a meeting invite sometime next week.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Hopefully we'll meet in person. And
yeah, well, first
yeah.
I'll send a poll for
okay.
times and then we'll set a meeting.
Okay, yeah. Perfect.
And I mean, I'm presuming for, there's like 5 of us now. I would just propose doing a meeting outdoors because I think there's a good chance we'll have some good weather and then it should be pretty low stress doing that. Does that seem okay?
That seems great.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, I can just update next. I've been doing just kind of organizational stuff for the group with my time. And I'm hoping to do less of that moving forward. It's taking up a lot of my time and I'm trying to be careful of how much time I spend. So at some point, it would be great to have some more help on the organizational side of the CCOC as far as agendas and basic kind of management of the group. The article for this month, coordinating with the CPC and with other groups. So there's been kind of just a lot going on there. And then the storytelling piece, I've done a little bit. Got a couple folks that are lined up to tell their stories. So we're kind of moving that forward, but we do need a lead for the storytelling group, I think. It's just, I can't take on the leadership of that group at this time. And so it feels like the group maybe is not pulling together at this moment. So I'm wondering if anyone wants to kind of be the lead on that, on the storytelling.
Would you describe more about what that would entail?
Well, so it's been a group of us so far, which was Risa and Jamie and Anya and myself, and we developed a set of questions that we take to members of the public. And what we are doing is collecting their stories so that we can use those in outreach. We can use them, with a picture of the person in publications, or we can use, we can even make maybe radio snippets with some of them, just to help people get motivated around conservation and learn what their other kind of neighbors and friends are doing, and provide a positive way to move people forward. So, but we are kind of partway along already in the project. So I think it wouldn't be hard to bring in someone new and get you up to speed on what the process looks like. And then we all go out and collect stories, and we come back and figure out how we're going to use those. So we're in the collection phase at the moment.
So, okay, thank you, Marnie.
Yeah.
From that, what you've said, I would be happy to volunteer time to collect stories for sure.
Okay.
So, I mean, if I can be set up, I can go out, I know people that I can contact, and, you know, I could help bring those stories forward anyway.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, Larry.
Yeah, this is just a point of information, I guess. We have an attendee who I saw in the chat, there was one chat who said that they had submitted a public comment yesterday. I just think something should be said.
Yes, I will get to that in a sec. Sorry, it's on my
Okay.
list. I just wanted to finish this agenda item, and then,
Okay.
yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, so any other updates, Jamie?
Oh,
Just on our,
I was gonna add on to the storytelling.
Okay.
Because it doesn't sound like we have a person that is coordinating yet.
yes.
And it sounds like, I mean, we've got several stories right now. We just need basically to decide where we want to disperse these stories, essentially. Is that right? And keep it
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, and I think that's a discussion to have within the group rather than in this larger group. But just someone to make sure that we meet and that we
Okay.
talk, and that we have all our next steps, and that we're moving the whole thing forward. We'll also need somewhere for the stories to live, some common place where we keep them, and then figure out what kind of format we want to use for what.
And can you remind me, is this a separate subgroup?
It is a subgroup. Yeah, I forget they were numbered. I think
Okay.
Number 1. Risa?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
was just shooting the peace sign.
Okay.
It's number one.
Number 1. Okay, well, I guess we're a group without a lead, and that's okay. We will figure that out. Okay, any other updates that folks?
Just a question
Yeah.
regarding May, I think, is the time when the commission chair role changes. Is that right? Or June? I forget what it is. But Risa, you're the vice chair. So
Mhm.
if next meeting, we'll have to at least temporarily get somebody else as vice chair. So just in case, Marnie, you can't be there, that person can lead the meetings or whatever as well, or whatever other duties that person does.
Well,
Yeah.
it's also the season for the commission to nominate
Right.
their chair and vice chair. So it's kind of all,
Yeah, we can do it all at once.
yeah.
Thank you. I'll definitely make sure that goes on the next agenda. I will do that quite happily. Okay, so we did miss a public comment, and I apologize to Flavia about that, but I would like to give her a moment now because somehow we missed that. So Flavia, if you're still here, and if Mary can allow her to come in, that would be great. Thank you for your patience, Flavia.
You're muted, Flavia.
There we go. How's that?
Got it.
Wait, perfect. Thank you.
So thank you for letting me speak. And so this is me reaching out to the Outreach Commission. I just wanted to let you know of some activities that were taking place that relates to, you know, your goals as your commission goes forward. So I'm going to be teaching a sustainability class this summer through the Parks and Recs program that is going to be helping folks to reduce their carbon footprint, helping them in disaster preparedness, getting fire wise, and also connecting with their neighbors. And so, you know, I've been doing a lot of research preparing for the class, and I'm pretty excited about possibly starting neighborhood groups that will, you know, help people, you know, through mutual support on transitioning to sustainability. And I also wanted to give you guys feedback about the Rotary Club sponsor. They secured funding from Ashland Food Co-op, and they sponsored 2 food bins to be at the Tuesday growers market, and it's going really well. Everybody, I've been there every week, and all the comments are really positive, and a lot of people are really relieved that they finally have a place to put their food waste, and they don't feel guilty about it, and they're knowing that it's going to some good. They ask what happens to it and everything. And then April 4th through 8th is Food Waste Prevention Week, and there's a lot of states that have joined together, and there's a website. If I'm allowed, I could put that website in the chat, but Oregon participated, California, Michigan, Nevada, and so forth. So I did send a letter to City Council, and they didn't really respond with anything. I was kind of hoping that they would do a declaration just to raise awareness that it's Food Waste Prevention Week. But next year, since I know the week exists, I'll have a little bit more lead time, and I'll work maybe to get restaurants and grocers to participate more and to raise the issue a little bit more. And then, you know, as far as community gardens is going, the food forest is getting built out at Bellevue Grange, and it's really drawing a lot of volunteers every Saturday, not every Saturday, but quite a few Saturdays a month. I have been there several times, and I see a lot of people there every week. You know, the crowd kind of grows. So it's being used to teach kids at Bellevue Grange about regenerative agriculture, and I think Bellevue Grange has gotten new members as a result. So I think there is a lot of interest in the community. And also on May 5th, the Rotary Club is sponsoring a demonstration of an eco-rich food composter. So it's like for a school or a hotel, some larger institution to compost, and it takes care of the composting process in 24 hours. So they're going to demonstrate that on May 5th. So if you're interested, you can contact the Rotary Club and Candace Turtle specifically to get an invitation for that. It's going to be done virtually on Zoom. And yeah, and so I'm taking a community composting class, and so I hope to be generating some ideas about, you know, what we can do going forward. So that's it.
Reset.
Well, first off, thanks so much, Flavia, for your ongoing commitments and work in lots of different areas. When I was listening to you talk, it just reminded me, it made me think that the Bellevue Grange efforts around regenerative agriculture in kids, it seems like that would be a perfect offering at the co-op's April 24th Earth Day event, because their focus is kids, and the event, which I didn't realize, is kid focused. So I don't know if the folks in that group have the bandwidth to you know, take their event portable, or if there's even table space left. But I would think that if there is space left, the co-op would welcome that effort with open arms.
Well, that's a really great idea, Risa. And I do have a table set up for Southern Oregon Food Solutions at the co-op. So I have made arrangements, and I will feature the food forest on the table.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Thank you, Flavia. That was great. And it's exciting, all that's going on. And as far as the food waste, the awareness for food waste prevention, that is something that we could maybe partner with next year. You're saying for this year, it might be a little bit late to get that in front of City Council. But that would be something that we would definitely be interested in helping with. So thank you. Okay, anything else? All right, thank you so much. Okay, so I was informed that we have a budget, which I don't know why we didn't have a budget last year, but it didn't seem like we did, or else we just didn't know that we did. So we have a budget of $1,000.
Awesome. Ice cream. It's acceptable. Not alcohol.
What I think we have till July to spend our money.
You have until June 30th, and the checks have to be cleared by June 30th. So really about June 15th, and then you get another 1,000 starting July 1.
Wow. Okay.
So I need the receipts by about June 15th.
Okay. And we might want to consider using some of that budget for Earth Day if we wanted to do something like a raffle. You know, that might be a really good way to have something to offer there. And I just wanted to get people thinking about the fact that we have a budget and what we want to do with it. I think in the past, we've used it either for prizes that we give out for our Conservation of the Year awards and things like that. And then we've just used it for materials and things that we've needed along the way when we did things like the Earth Bowl and other events that we took part in. So Risa, yes.
I would suggest if you want to do something for Earth Day, that it be service-based and not stuff-based.
Yes. That's great. Thank you. Larry, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, Risa, but I was going to mention, I like the raffle idea because it prompted the thought. I've had a number of people just out of the blue ask me about induction cooking. And I've gotten involved a little bit with it. And I know we've promoted, I know people have been trying the induction hot plates from the Library of Things.
Yeah.
That you know, got set up in earlier days. And I was wondering, you know, we're going to have an electric outlet at the Temple Emek Shalom event. And I was thinking, you know, maybe bringing my own hot plate there, but maybe an idea could be to bring an induction hot plate to demonstrate and have that be the raffle item. Somehow, I don't know how, you know, if you know a lot about raffles, Marnie, maybe you have an idea of how that could work, but that's just one suggestion. This is a, you know, it's like $100 item or a little under 100. It's a thought.
Yeah, I think this is something that we can talk more about at our meeting coming up. Although if we need to purchase something, we might want to get that moving quickly. Right. And you know, a raffle could be a really fun thing to have at the Temple Emek Shalom event. So, and Kate and I met for coffee recently, and Kate had all sorts of really good ideas about ways we can display things. So you guys might want to get together, because she was talking about also the induction hot plates from the Library of Things. So I have a friend that's an author of outdoor books, and he has one called the Earth Almanac. He's sending me 5 signed copies that we can raffle off. So, you know, there might be other things we can raffle as well, just to make it bigger and more fun. If
Rogue to go.
And Rogue to go. Okay.
I was about to say that, Risa.
Even like an incentive beyond what the city's giving for the heat pump water heaters to raffle $400 toward a heat pump water heater for somebody. So it could be, maybe we could get somebody to put one there to demonstrate what it looks like anyway, and then have a raffle for $400 more off of a heat pump water heater or something. Because that would really advertise its savings and all that too.
Yeah.
Might be a way for us to, the group that Larry and I were doing, to do that kind of outreach simultaneously at that event.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's gather and we can hash out some of those details, and hopefully we can do that as soon as we're able to. Okay, and then I guess if anyone else has any thoughts about the budget besides that, it would be good to think about it before next time. And if you have anything now, that's great too, Jamie.
Can we use it for our get together? Some of it, not all of it. Can we get a disco ball? No, just
Risa, what's the historic use of the budget? I know we've gotten together plenty of times in the past, but I don't think we ever used our budget around it. But we might have. I don't remember.
We've had gatherings, right? And the city paid for something. They brought pizza and soda in, whatever.
It was, yeah, but it was a retreat.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
okay.
that's, I think that's a little different
Okay.
than a social, I personally, you know, this is my last time to give my 2 cents, but I don't think that's an appropriate use of city dollars. I think it really needs to be focused toward actual outreach, because that is what, and yeah, that's just my opinion.
So we shouldn't throw that giant party just for Risa that we were planning with our.
I wouldn't be able to attend.
As much as I love her, I feel the same.
Yeah, it does. Mary, yeah.
It's not
Risa,
appropriate.
is this your last meeting or are you coming to the next meeting?
No, I wrote to the mayor and I told her I asked for advice and I didn't get it twice. And so my term is up April 2022. So I figured this is my last meeting.
Okay.
I'm having a big party at my house at our next meeting. I'm teasing.
Come on, Risa.
Hardly. Anyway.
Okay, so yes, let's think about what we want to do with our budget by the next meeting. But prior to that, would folks be okay with us using some of it if we decide to have a raffle or if we need other money for Earth Day? Okay, and I think we should vote on that just so that it's on the record. Does anyone want to make a motion?
What's the motion supposed to be? Oh, Larry, go for it.
Well, I'll make a motion that that we approve a future plan before the end of the fiscal year to use up to our budget availability, which at this point is $1,000 toward Earth Day activities.
I second that.
Can I add one thing to it? The storytelling piece may involve some costs, and before we blow our wad on stuff for one event, there were some items that we had discussed about framing, about photos, about that kind of thing. And so I think we might want to keep those things in mind too.
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't thinking we would spend all of it on Earth Day, but we also don't know yet. I don't want to limit us because we know it's coming up before our next meeting. But Yeah, so I don't know what the amount would be. So how would you like that worded in the motion, Risa?
Well, it was just, I don't know that we
Okay.
need to be specific. I don't think
Okay.
we need to say Earth Day, or we don't need to say
Okay.
but we also want input from commissioners about whatever it is we decide. So I guess I wonder if it's too early to make a motion.
I think it's premature to make a motion and we need to give this some thought and maybe look at this next.
Well, it'll be too late by next time.
Okay, then I approve what the motion.
Then never mind what I just said. Sorry, Larry.
Okay, could we add that if 3 or more commissioners all agree on an expenditure for Earth Day, that counts as the whole commission is okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, so it's not just a unilateral decision by one person.
Well, and including the chair. Make sure.
Okay. Okay.
Second that amendment.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I think we're out of order. So shall we vote first on the amendment? Is that how it goes? Okay, so all in favor of the amendment, which says 3 or more people, including the chair, decide together of how much to spend on Earth Day up to our limit of $1,000.
All right.
Okay, and all opposed? Okay, so the amendment passes, and then the original motion from Larry, all in favor? And all opposed? Okay, we did it. Thank you for that. And definitely, I know for myself, hearing the message of not buying stuff, as even if we have a raffle, there's all sorts of other ways we can have a raffle that don't involve, say, handing out stuff. What's next? So we have our guiding document from last time, and I just stuck that back in the packet. I was hoping folks would take another look at that. Let me see where we are on time. 4:45. Okay, we don't have much time left. So I think I'm going to table that because I think we still have a lot of other things to do. So I'm going to continue on our agenda and see if we have time to get back to that. Otherwise, we're going to save it for next time, if that's okay. We want to talk about outreach for new commissioners. We now have 2 open seats for new commissioners. And I wanted to have a discussion around specifically what we're looking for. I know there was someone that reached out. They were new to town and they had a list of skills. And I think we want to make sure that if we want to do a little outreach to get someone to apply for the position, we want someone with the skills that we need. And so I wanted to just find out from folks what you think is important for us to look for, and then how we want to go about bringing those skills into the group. So does anyone want to start with that, Jamie?
I'm wondering if finding someone with a strong tech background of some kind might be helpful.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Just because, maybe they're really good at digital arts and they can create a really compelling video, or graphic design where they can create a really amazing poster or whatever,
Yeah.
So
That sounds great. I know I would like to see a little bit of age diversity would be good. Specifically, if we could bring people in that are younger, or are part of the schools. And also potentially someone from OSF could be really good. And they might have that, that experience that you're talking about too, Jamie. Anya, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just think other diversity wise too, having some sort of racial diversity, I think as we're all working on equity stuff here, it'd be really valuable to have that voice in the room too.
Okay, thank you. Risa. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think it's important to think about adding people who reach different sections of the community. You mentioned OSF, but some of our other populations. So, I mean, that's one of the most important parts of being a little bit more diverse, is that we can get feedback from and interact with different pieces of the community.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this has been a little bit of a weakness in the past, is we, you know, the people we know are who we grab to come into the group, and that's great. And I think we also need to go outside the groups that we already know and already engage with and figure out how to expand our reach quite a bit. So that is just building on what Kate had to say.
I wonder, even at the Temple Emek Shalom event, if there's a way to advertise that we have 2 positions open. I don't know, it just seems like that event would draw people who are interested in conservation, and it may hit some parts of the community that we don't normally tap into. Just an idea. Could be a little, you know, QR code thing or something, you know, it might not generate any interest, but you know, somebody might know somebody.
Yeah, and it might be neat to have just a little sign up sheet, and then even ask them, you know, a question about themselves on that sign up sheet, so that we can later know, you know, either what their background is or what kind of skills they have. Risa, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of spell out to the person, to let them know, like, not to assume that somehow they grasp what the Conservation and Climate Outreach Commission is about, and not to just point them to, you know, the paragraph below, but just to really have a conversation about, like, do you like to go out in the community and talk to people, or interview people, or sit at events, or, you know, just whatever it is, you know, 5 things that we decide that that's who we are and what we want to be. We need to ask that person if, like, that's something that they want to do, because in theory, things sound different than how they sound when the boots hit the ground. It just seems, and it's more fair to them that they know, have a sense of what they're getting into.
Yes, that's a really good point. Thank you. We can write up a little blurb like that and then make it available. I like the idea of having it at Earth Day, but then also, you know, just email it to someone if we want to ask if they're interested, or if we want to ask them if they're interested. So yeah, Risa.
The other thought is to write a sneak preview article about the commission, and do a big rah-rah about serving and what we've been about, who we've been, and what we're, just as an invitation, maybe y'all take a picture of yourselves, and that's on this is who we are, you know, join us, and these are some of the things we're working on, and come on, get off the sofa. I don't know. It's just we have that medium, that outreach tool.
I like that. And we've talked about before putting ourselves in there. I think, you know, it felt weird to advertise ourselves, and yet it seemed like a nice way to let people know we're real people. You know, this is what we're doing, and come to us with your ideas and other things. So
I did one not too long ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. About the commission.
Oh,
I could.
Okay.
I can't remember the details of it,
Yeah.
can't remember when I did it, but I bet I could find it in my file.
Okay.
So I could. And
It was in the sneak review because it would then be in our list of
oh,
articles online.
Risa, you could write a goodbye one
Yeah.
and then with a request that other people come in.
Yeah.
Done.
Actually, that is what we should do. We should feature.
should we?
Mhm. Yeah. We'll say goodbye to Risa and we will sing your praises. And then we will say, and we need someone to fill these very, very, very big shoes that are left here.
Oh, but you're not asking me to write the article.
No.
Oh,
No.
I loved it. I loved it. That is like the best.
Well, you can.
Use
but
me.
that's
Use
a
me.
lot
You
to
can
ask.
use me. I don't care.
Okay. Okay.
It could be cool to hear Risa's experience on the commission because she's been on here for such a long time that if she wanted to put a little something in about what that's been like to serve that long, that'd be cool too.
That would
Yeah.
be great. Yeah. Is that something you would be interested in writing, Risa, or do you
No, but I would help.
Okay, perfect.
I'd be happy to help
Okay.
that person. And
love
I will find that article. 'Cause
Okay.
it has a little history in it.
So then we have to gather in person and get a picture. So, and it might just be a momentary gathering just for a picture, and then we'll see that we're all still like real people with bodies and stuff. And oh, and that is actually on our agenda too, is talking about if we want to meet in person for a future meeting. But we should do this kind of soon
Yeah,
because we really need some more bandwidth.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm happy to help with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Larry, yeah.
And what you just said, Marnie, is doubly important because the timeline for getting people approved on commissions is very long historically.
Mhm.
And it could be faster, but I think it's just moving it to through the mayor to the council agenda
Yeah,
can take 4 or 5 months.
okay.
Sorry to say.
Yeah. Okay. So there is an option. We could even swap out the article that's in our packet right now with a new article, but we'd have to pre-approve it without even reading it first. So, but we can get to that next on the agenda. Okay. So I wrote down kind of the features that we need for someone based on this discussion. If anyone thinks of anything else, feel free to let me know. And then I'll just write up a little blurb that at least describes what it is we do. And I think it's good to think forward thinking of what type of person brings our whole commission in the direction we want to go, rather than someone that fits in with how we've done things in the past. So thank you. That was really helpful. And then also if you have specific people in mind or people that we should talk to just to get out maybe into some different populations than whom we normally interact with would be really helpful, to just start to broaden our scope a little bit.
Do they have to live within the city limits?
I think they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There has been discussion of allowing people in the past. I think for the CPC commission, they even talked about allowing people from outside city limits just so that we can get some various expertise if we need it. But I don't think that that's in place. So
I think it's within the zip code, if I recall correctly, but I'm not positive about that.
okay.
Yeah, because Tom Beam was on it and he lives outside the city limits.
Yeah.
It's so funny because he lives right next door to me, so it's weird.
That's why I think they had to
Yeah.
be a little flex.
Yeah, and Jim Hartman too. So we're in a funny little spot right here where half the houses are in and half the houses are out. Okay, so the sneak preview, I hope somehow the article ended up linked in the wrong spot in the agenda, which was probably my fault. But I hope you guys all found it in there because it was one of the links. And there was a switcheroo on the article. So we're in a strange place. We didn't okay the topic. It was just the only article available in the moment. So We can okay that article, or we could say, hey, let's just vote to replace it with this one that we just discussed about bringing in a new commissioner and featuring Risa, which would be fine too. So the article was about air travel.
When's it due first? Like, when do we have to have it presented to Curtis?
April 5th.
Okay, that's only a few days away. So
Yeah.
if I like the idea of writing up an article for the, advertising a place for people to think about being a commissioner.
Mhm.
But it would take somebody to be able to sit down and put something together pretty quickly.
If it's at all possible to swap out, that would have my vote. I wasn't 100% comfortable with the tone of the current proposed article, so I think in a way that needs some editing anyway. And I really like the idea of doing something on research and then making a call out for volunteers. And actually, the way it could be done is as a little short interview. And that might make it more comfortable in the terms of where Risa's writing. We could have just some questions, Risa answers them, a question, Risa answers it, like, how long have you been on the commission? What's been your highlights? And just talking about why you wanted to be on the commission, and then ending with, it's time for me to go, would really like to see someone. Is there anyone in the Ashland community that would like to join the commission? And we can just do it as those questions. And I would be happy to, obviously you'd be writing most of it, Risa, but I can think of those questions and get them to you as soon as possible. If you are able to do it by that date. That is a tall order though. I totally get that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You don't have a smile on your face even. Is that like some sort of
It's
attack?
kind of a grimace, kind of like, when one is constipated, that kind of look.
So the article could have a picture which takes up a lot of space, which leaves a lot less writing. So there's
I've got a picture of Risa.
I would like to see it first.
Does Curtis allow pictures? I can't remember.
Yes, it just means that the content, instead of X amount of words, it's, I don't know, what's the usual, 700, and then instead it's 600, something like that.
Risa, I honestly think this will flow. Like, we'll have a question and you'll just answer it. There'll be 600 words easily here, because I think part of it was in the previous, and then it's, I'll frame the questions and then you're answering a specific question. And I think we have that in bold and then each paragraph after it. I think that could work quite nicely.
If you just don't send it in a Google Docs, I'll be fine.
I'll send it in an email. I know, let's keep it off Google Doc.
and then it'll also have to have a little description just about the commission itself.
Mhm.
Okay, and you guys are good with that?
Bex can do that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Well, there's the whole formal thing that's
Yeah,
underneath every agenda, and we don't want the entire thing, but
We'll jazz it up a bit, Risa.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, we're not gonna approve it. It'll get sent to me by the 5th, then I'll shoot it off to Curtis or the
Yes,
sneak.
but we do need to vote right now that we're approving it even without
Right.
having read it.
so what if me and Bex do it and we send it to Marnie, and then Marnie can send it to Jamie? Just for formality and channels, and
Yeah.
because that's legal, right, Mary? Because 1, 2, 3, 4 commissioners will have touched it, so to speak, not all at once.
That's fine.
Does that help to make it more, oh, yeah.
I think just for any of us that feel like we need to see it first, we'll to include them in the lineup.
Okay.
Yeah,
Larry.
More
I
just,
think if we're pre-approving it, we're taking care of, I mean, I think that there should be a motion that describes what Beck's,
Yeah.
just described, and if we're approving that to be submitted April 5th, that should be good.
Okay,
I-
can you
I
make
think-
the motion? Oh, go ahead. Kate and then James.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. But what I also heard Marnie say was, what are some of the attributes that we want commissioners to have to move us along? And so I would love that to be included, because you have that paragraph of what the commission is that's kind of, I don't know, doesn't really speak to what we need. And so, just even 3 bullet points, are you blah, blah, blah? What are the 3 big, are you able to contribute, 1 to 2 hours a week,
Right.
to this group, are you passionate about blah? And are you a good communicator? That's one of the things, I don't know, but I think that would be a good idea, and it could be very brief. And I feel very comfortable with Marnie writing that piece or looking it over, or Bex, anybody, but just what are some of the things that we really want? Because I think if we're intentional about that, then we're more likely to get it.
Okay, thank you. I took some notes on what we're looking for, and I'll shoot those over to Bex.
Yeah,
And
shoot them over to me and I'll incorporate it, because I might do it in a way that incorporates it within the questions. I've got some ideas how this could flow.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That sounds good. And then you guys will shoot it to me once you have it written, and then I'll give it to Jamie to submit.
Yeah, can you expect it first thing on the 5th and turn it around in a day, Marnie? Okay.
Okay, so does
Jamie has
anyone
a
want-
question.
Well, I was just wondering, so as far as the next article, we probably should talk about that, right?
Okay, let's make a motion on this one, and then we'll go and
sorry.
talk about those. Okay. James, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? I saw your
Kate
hand.
spoke for me. Thank you, Kate.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, and Bex, could you make the motion, because that way you can make it fit what you're going to do.
So I make a motion for the next article that it will be a tribute to Reese's service and looking for other members by me putting questions to Risa, asking her about her experience at CCOC and what we are looking for in new members.
And would you please add that you will include bullet points to what we would like to see?
They might not be bullet points, but I will include
Something like
what we
that.
would like to see.
Okay. I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. I'm excited about that option. That'll be great. Next, okay, so we have some articles coming up next. We have water conservation. Sorry, I must have taken bad notes last time because I wasn't sure if the July one was survey results or not. And then we also have the CCOC and
CPC.
thank you. Joint article. And so we just want to fit those into the schedule. I didn't want to move that water one because that one seems really time sensitive. So we might have to put the commission coordination one after the other two. But anyway.
That's fine. We'll be ready this time. Rick and they just weren't ready. Rick was going to make the presentation to City Council and they just didn't come through in time-wise. But they've promised to come through time-wise this time. So they'll be ready.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I propose to take the survey result one off now? Because it's been pushed back, and the survey closed a while ago. I mean, I can talk about climate change in general and what everyone thinks and saying at the beginning of the year there was a survey, but I'm just, in terms of time relevance, it's probably lost its appeal.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we put this, the CPC CCOC one for that month then? And then, do we want another one? Jamie, I'm sorry, I'm taking over your role here, and I didn't mean to. So if you want to organize these, I'm happy.
I think you should just roll with it. You're doing great.
Well, I'm not sure how many we want to have lined up and what the next one should be.
So we're scratching off the survey results.
I think so. It's just, I feel it's old news.
Okay.
But what about the people that haven't heard about it yet,
I
Beth?
know, that's why I'm torn, because it's not old news as in highlighting what the results were, but saying we've just carried out a survey, it is old news. So there's a different way it could be presented, definitely, but it wouldn't be about the survey results. It would be about maybe what individuals can do around climate change and actually what what people felt in Ashland around climate change. But I'm just really mindful, something I've been picking up in a lot of conversations recently with people is we put a lot on individuals. You need to do this, you need to change this, you need to do that. And I've had some really interesting conversations where, and this is something I fully believe in as well, in terms of systems need to change, infrastructure needs to change, decisions need to be made up at this level. And we don't really beat up those people enough. Why are they generating electricity and gas that uses fossil fuels? Why aren't we going for them? We're asking individuals to invest so much money to do this, to do that. Don't do this. You need to do less of that. When actually, the people who are making the money off the current systems, why don't we make it easier for individuals to have a good life? I would love something to go further up the chain and just address that.
I agree, Bex.
Oh, why don't you do that?
I might with James.
Yeah, I'll be glad to join you there, Bex. We can whip out something really
Okay.
awesome.
Let's do that later in the year, James.
Yeah.
Let's make sense of it all.
Okay, I just,
Larry, yeah.
could I just check in, Jamie? I've got on my calendar a deadline of April 13th to submit the water article to, I guess, to Marnie, because it'll have to go on the agenda for the next meeting. Is
So
that right?
Marnie, you'd like him to send it to me first,
Or should I send it?
and then
to
I send it to you?
Well, I think the way it used to go was that the article would go to Jamie and Jamie would submit it to Mary for the packet, right?
Okay, so to
But
Jamie
you're
is
doing the
fine. That's
packet.
what
I know, but then I started doing the packet because Elizabeth was gone.
Okay, so I should send it to Mary.
I'm wondering if we should get back into if that's okay with
Okay.
Mary. If
That's
all the
fine.
packet
Yeah.
stuff goes to Mary.
Yeah.
And then you can
I-
CC me on it so that I know it's done, and then that way I won't bother you to say, hey, did that happen?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
from
I'll
this,
send it to Jamie and I'll CC Marnie.
Okay.
okay. Okay, and we know for sure from this point forward, Mary is the person for sure. You're not
Yeah.
gonna do the, okay.
I can do
perfect.
that. When do you
Okay.
usually receive your packets? Is it a week before the meeting or when do you usually get them?
A week before the meeting is about right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of times it would be the Monday before the Wednesday meeting. If we were really lucky, it would be the Friday before the Wednesday meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have we have a certain protocol that we have to put the agenda on the web by a 3-day mandate. So I need to have it by that at least. So it'll always be the week before at least.
Yeah. Okay. Week before is just easy to always
Okay.
remember. Okay. Okay, so are we good with that? And it looks like we only have articles lined up through the July issue, which is through the May meeting. Do we want to have another one lined up or are we good for now?
Just to be clear before we get to that, so we're doing the Risa tribute, which I love. You love that, don't you? We're doing Risa tribute, and then are we gonna do the travel one next?
No, we're doing
No,
water.
that one's been,
Oh, we bumped water up. Okay.
yep.
Okay, and then when's travel?
It doesn't have to stay in. It was just a filler because we didn't have an article this month.
If I understand correctly, July will be the CCOC and CPC joint article.
Yeah, so pack it by May 11th.
Then August, well, the column starting with August will be systems or something. We'll find a name.
Okay.
The one James and I will do.
The
Okay.
system.
Okay.
Systemic climate change. Okay.
Okay, I'm good. So yeah, do we want to think of more? Or?
It's a
I think
systemic,
we're good for now.
it's a systemic approach to climate change.
Systemic
That's-
approach to climate change.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah, I think we're good for now, if that's all right, because we got to move on. Okay. And then if anyone ever has any just topics they want to keep on the list as placeholders, we can always add those too. So. All right. So I think we're good. I was going to have us just kind of, and actually we should probably make this a future kind of habit that we do, is at the end of the meeting, we just review kind of our action items that each of us are going to do. But I don't want to just throw that in this time because we'll run out of time. But I just wanted to have us start to get that into our habits. I think it'll make us more accountable. And that way we know the following month kind of what to check up on to see how things are going. So we'll start keeping track of our individual action items, which we used to do, but somehow it just fell away over time. I wanted to check in about in-person versus virtual meetings. How do you want to do our next meeting? Does anyone have a strong
In person.
You want to do in person? Yeah. And if we're to do it in person, we then need the meeting room. Is that right? Does that make things difficult on your end, Mary?
It's not a problem, except it's a problem for videotaping. Because as far as I know, the council is the only place that is set up for that, to videotape. I'll have to check and see. We used to do them at ComDev, at that. You can do them at the electric IT conference room. I mean, there's a lot of different places, but
Okay.
I'll check with IT about the videotaping. I don't know how that would happen.
Okay.
Why do we need to videotape?
Yeah.
You don't need to. It's just historically you've been on. You don't have to.
No, we've only been videotaping since COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the long and short of it, is that we were at the ComDev building in the Siskiyou room until we weren't.
Okay. So we have a goal of having an in-person meeting by next time, if we can make sure all the logistics work out. And
I'll reserve that room for you.
okay, thank you so much. That could be really nice. That is a big step forward. Okay,
I have a question regarding that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We had that discussion about transitioning.
Yeah.
Because people are used to actually doing, watching meetings online now. And we may have set a precedence from my perspective, where having it videoed through Zoom and have it broadcast might be a benefit, because there are people perhaps that are really watching this or want to see parts of it that wouldn't normally have to show up physically to a meeting.
Yeah.
And so I personally am in favor of having a method, even if we have it in person and we're all attending in person, to have it broadcast in a way that could be available real time for people who can't physically make it, or recorded for people to look at it when they want to. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I do know that the city is working on a hybrid meeting to do just that. So the city council would meet in person, and the guests that wanted to give public forum would be zoomed in. So they haven't finished it yet, but they are working on that.
Okay.
Could you keep us informed, Mary? That would be good to know.
It's going to happen soon.
Okay, because all it takes is a camera on a laptop, really, to be
Yeah.
able to
The
bring-
video. Okay.
Okay. We'll figure out something for the next meeting and let everybody know. I wanted to check, I was going to invite Rick Barth to come to our next meeting and give him a pretty good slot of time where we can have a whole group discussion about how we work together and what kind of
That'd be-
coordinated outreach we should be doing. Does that
That'd be
work? with
awesome.
everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. And is there anyone else that we need to be thinking about asking to come and work with us? Okay.
When you do invite Rick, could you also build, I mean, I'll be talking to him anyway about the article and how we can formulate an article and how that discussion could be incorporated a little bit about how we work together. So
Okay.
that could be the outflow of
Okay.
that part.
Sounds good. Okay. There's one other thing. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, is there anything else that folks want to make sure get on our radar for any upcoming meetings in the near future? Okay. All right. Well, thank you.